So, from Seattle's autonomous zone to nearly 2 months of Portland protests to prosecutors not pursuing criminal cases, all of that testing the skill and patience of law enforcement officers while they are out there on the front lines. So let's debate the state of law and order in our country with Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall and author of the new book, Defender-in-Chief, Donald Trump's Fight for Presidential Power, John Yoo. Welcome to both of you.
Hey, Shannon.
Hi, Shannon.
Okay, so let's start there in St. Louis with this McCloskey couple. I mean, a local station there says, you know, the firearm from Patricia McCloskey was tested. It didn't work right. So they sent it and had it reassembled, and then it actually did fire. And then it was considered lethal, and that's now part of the charges. KSDK says in Missouri, police and prosecutors must prove that a weapon is readily capable of lethal use when it's used in the type of crime with which the McCloskeys have been charged. So, John, is that something that prosecutors would normally do with a piece of evidence like this?
No, it's not. In fact, the McCloskey said the gun was a prop and was inoperable. And it raises fundamental questions about why are the prosecutors going after the McCloskeys when instead they should be going after the people who are threatening them. This is especially so in a state where the governor apparently has already said he intends to pardon them if they're convicted, and the attorney general is trying to stop the prosecution. And there's something called the castle doctrine, which is familiar to people because there's always this phrase, your home is your castle. And under Missouri law, like in many states, if someone tries to enter your house, you are allowed to use force to keep them out. And it would seem to me the McCloskeys would have a good defense under the castle doctrine.
Well, the governor certainly thinks so. This is what the governor says. He talks about the circuit attorney there, Kim Gardner. He says her actions toward the McCloskey are outrageous. Even worse, the circuit attorney's office has admitted there's a backlog of cases and dozens of homicides that have not been prosecuted, yet she has accelerated this case forward. And Leslie, you know, that's going to give the critics fuel there that say these prosecutors are not going after the serious crime. They're going after PR stunts like this.
Well, certainly they're going to have their critics, but I would hope that they can walk and chew gum at the same time, and they can have more than one case going and more than one arrest or indictment at the same time. You know, to John's point, yes, they do have the castle law in the state of Missouri, but here's the thing. You have two guns there, one in the gentleman's hand, one in the woman's hand. Only one was an alleged prop. Two, you have to prove that somebody was actually breaking in or trying to break into their home, or that the protesters intended to do them harm. The Second Amendment does give the right in this nation to bear arms, but brandishing those arms at another individual, a lot of legal experts would say the Second Amendment doesn't cover that. So I honestly think both sides of this have an uphill battle because there are some areas that are very gray and more difficult to prove.
Yeah, okay, so I want to ask you, too, about this FBI document as well that came to light today. Fox News and are reporting about it. A source says FBI agent used the 2016 briefing on election interference as a cover to question the Trump team. It goes on to say the source went on to tell Fox News that the briefing was used as a, quote, cover to listen for any remarks by Trump or others about the Russian Federation. And there are all kinds of interesting links to Peter Strzok and other folks here that are going to raise a lot of eyeballs on this. John, it was meant to be then a defensive briefing. At least that's what it was presented as for candidate Trump. What do you make of this latest revelation in the FBI document?
Sadly, my former colleagues in the Justice Department again crossed the red line here. You are not supposed to use these powers that are designed to stop terrorists, to track down foreign spies, turn them internally and use them to spy on the presidential campaign of a major political party. That was the whole reason the Watergate reforms were enacted, like FISA, like these rules about the briefings. Unfortunately, I think people are going to recognize this was the exact same tactic that was used against Michael Flynn, where the FBI pretended to be doing something like business as normal, but instead used it to try to trick or trap here President Trump, later Michael Flynn, by overhearing something, by not reading them their rights. It's a very disturbing exercise of the power by FBI headquarters, not the real agents in the field. Again, I think it shows how far the Justice Department here, the FBI, was willing to go to try to get their man here, Donald Trump, at the expense of the rules that were designed to protect the civil liberties of all Americans.
Quick final word to you, Leslie.
Well, look, at this point, that particular intention is an allegation, and I have to say that, yeah, it raises an eyebrow, but on my side of the aisle, it also raises an eyebrow because of the timing of this. The president is not doing well in the polls, and we do have an election in November, and in addition to that, Inspector General Horowitz, although touched upon this meeting, definitely was thorough, and we didn't see that in this specific red flag come to light at the time, which is another reason I'm a little perplexed by what we're hearing and when we're hearing it.
Yeah, and we all await the Durham report. We've been saying for months. We'll see when we get that too. Leslie and John, thank you both.
Thanks.
Thank you, Shannon.